be upstanding and raise your glasses to the bride and groom. Thank you.
Bravo.
Maybe now, please welcome the man of the day, Matthew.
Yeah.
Thank you. You haven't heard it yet. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Bob for your kind words and also for welcoming me into your family. It means a lot to me, and thank you very much. Well, as I've spent the past 4 years writing a thesis, I found my approach to writing this speech would kind of followed or involved much the same process. My first reaction was to hide in a library for 6 months, see who did what before me, see what conclusions they made, and try and identify a contribution I could make to the field, which I haven't done, incidentally, yet. So I decided I'd have a go at presenting this speech in the format of a thesis, after all the hard work I put in trying to gather the information for it. As with any great piece of work, it's really a solo effort, and that wasn't a joke. It's really a solo effort, and there are many people to thank. I'd like to thank both of our parents for everything they've done and for their love and support throughout our journey. In particular, I'd really like to thank Hazel and Bob for everything that you've done for us and helping us make this such a memorable occasion. So thank you very much. And I'd like to propose a toast, so please raise your glasses to Hazel and Bob.
Oh.
Hazel and Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you. My next thank you is to my brand new brother-in-law, Howard. Thank you very much. As you may have noticed, these great place names and all of the stationery that came with us today, actually Howard designed and produced himself, and they really helped us, and we love it. I think they've done a great job, so thank you from us both. Really appreciate that. Also, I'd like to thank Sophie for being a fantastic flower girl and chief ring bearer. Thank you very much, Sophie. For being fantastic. Robert, I'd like to thank you for being my best man and for all of the fantastic things you're going to say about me in your speech in advance. So thank you, Robert. That's great. And also, Alice and I would like to thank everybody here. We're so pleased to be able to share this day with everyone, with friends and family, and it means a lot to us. So thank you very much. So, thanks. So that's the acknowledgements done for the first part of the report. I was expecting to feel nervous and sort of terrified, really, and I do. But seeing Alison look so beautiful here today and really made me feel very proud. And I feel delighted and very lucky indeed. And that really concludes the short, that leads me on to the first chapter, the introduction to my research. So, as part of the introduction, chapter 1, I'd like to thank Alison for all of her help and support throughout this journey. To be fair, I told her it would be interesting on our first date. And I'm not sure she believed me, but was I right? So it has been an interesting journey. In fact, there wouldn't have been a first date if it wasn't for our friend Jeanette's wisdom teeth. I believe she's over there, so we can all look at her. Thank you, Jeanette. If it wasn't for her suffering at that time, well, actually there's a joke there about suffering, but I won't say it. Her birthday gathering may have been delayed and we wouldn't be standing here today because we wouldn't have met at said gathering. So thank you, Jeanette, for having dodgy wisdom teeth. That's great. As I've only a few minutes left, I'll skip the 4 or 5 chapters in between and bring us up to speed. I don't know, I guess it's chapter 5, let's say. Bring us up to present day. As Bob mentioned, the last couple of years has seen us relocate to Australia, which is extremely warm for 10 months of the year, and everybody hangs out in shorts for most of the time, so we like it there. Especially coming back to midwinter, it's been a bit of a shock, but as I said, it's been great this time round. We went there to explore a new way of life and to see where our careers would take us. We've met lots of new friends and lots of new colleagues and a lot of big hairy spiders, but we feel very settled there, and we'd like to say that we have been reminded by distance of the importance of keeping in touch with friends and family, especially now that it's so easy with new technology and things like Skype and email and Facebook and numerous others. So please everybody keep that up. And we would both, Alice and I would both like to emphasise again how great it is to still be in regular contact with so many of our friends here. Despite all of our lives, you know, going in different directions and changing and taking shape in so many different ways. It has been an absolute pleasure catching up over this trip, and as I said, we're delighted. So for that, I'd like to move on to the conclusion of my research, or perhaps more appropriately, the future work to be done. I feel very proud today, and my wife and I are both excited about creating new chapters together, and it really is just left to me to propose a final toast. It's important for us to raise our glasses and toast absent friends. So please let's stand and raise our glasses. To absent friends.
Absent friends.
Thank you. And that's it, so thank you very much.
May I now please invite the best man, Rob.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Rob, and I've got the dubious privilege of being Matt's best man today. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all for coming today and helping to make Matt and Alison's wedding such a memorable occasion. Personally, I wish you'd all stayed at home and made my job a little less nerve-wracking. This isn't the first time I've stood up with several sheets of paper off a warm seat. Now, I know Matt and Alison have both put a tremendous amount of effort into organising today, which hasn't been easy, especially since they've done most of it from the other side of the world. So I can only hope that apart from this speech, everything has lived up to your expectations. In my defence, however, I would like to say that Matt and I share a very similar sense of humour, so if this speech is in any way unfunny, you can blame him. No problem. Before going any further, there are a couple of thank yous, which I think are important to raise or re-raise in a couple of instances. So firstly to Matt and Ali for inviting us all to share the day with them. It's been great. You both look fantastic, and I hope you've enjoyed it so far. I look forward to your dancing, Matt. Secondly to Sophie, who looks fantastic today, has done a fantastic job as bridesmaid, giving me the rings. Hopefully I didn't drop them and made a fool of myself, so thank you, Sophie.
Yeah.
And thirdly to Matt and Alison's families. Thank you for putting them up and putting up with them while they've been over here back in Blighty, and for your support in helping with all the arrangements today, so thank you very much. Back in April I visited Matt and Alison in Australia, and back in those days their taste in wine extended to whatever was on offer in the local offie down the road, which was quite a big offie, so there's quite a lot there, but they now tell me they found a few vineyards and wineries which they're trying to encourage us to go back out and have a look at, and obviously quaff a few glasses. But so I thought it might be useful to pass on some tips that you can't be learned at your average wine tasting session. So, so Matt, I think it's first important that you remember that women are like a fine wine. They're fresh, often fruity, and intoxicating. Alison, on the other hand, remember that men are also like a fine wine. They start off like grapes, and it's your job to relentlessly stamp on them in the dark until they turn into something that you'd like to have dinner with. Now, I know that Matt and Alison are the perfect couple. They're both funny, intelligent people. They're both dedicated to each other. And most importantly, and I guess this will stand the test of time, they're very tolerant of each other. So I think they'll be a great couple. But I must say how lucky you are, Matt. You'll be leaving here having gained a wife that is warm, loving, caring, who's funny and radiates beauty wherever she goes, especially today in the dress. And Alison, how lucky you are as well. You'll be leaving here today in a gorgeous dress with a nice bouquet of flowers. Now, I've known Matt since we were both 7, and we were both in most of the same classes together at school. He was always a studious schoolboy. He worked very hard, never got into any real trouble, which hasn't made this speech much easier. He was always a high achiever, clever and bright. Some even said geeky. As one of the school geeks, there was an unwritten rule that you weren't supposed to show any signs of sporting prowess. So well done, Matt, you did that well. Also, when we were at school, in French class, Matt liked to take the mickey out of our French teacher, Mr. Burgess. The poor guy lost all his hair by the time he was 30. They do say what goes around comes around. And I'm sure Matt's students at Wollongong University will be getting their own back now. So it's such a shame that Matt is balding so rapidly. Because when he did have a head of hair, it was such a charming shade of, what do you call it? Strawberry blonde. As many of you know, and Bob mentioned earlier, Matt's recently gained his PhD. So now, Alison, now that you're marrying Dr. Pepper, what's the worst that can happen? Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for a toast to the bride and groom. To Matt and Alison.